Algebra 2, Chapter 2 Review. This Chapter 2 review paper is due when you come to take the Chapter 2 test. So make sure you go over this over the weekend, and then we can review any questions you might have on Monday. Take a look at question number A. Negative 2x minus 12 greater than 12. So first thing, I want to isolate the x. I want to keep x on all by itself on one side. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Then I divide by negative 2. Remember I said something about dividing the negative 2. As you divide by a negative number, make sure you put it into change the sign. As you divide by the negative 2, your sign would have to be flipped from greater than to less than. As you divide from both sides, 36 divided by negative 2, we have negative 18. So it's out of our scale. I have to erase the bottom part. If later on you see something like this on your test, you can do that as well. Just erase the mark and then make your own mark so that you have enough information to put on the paper. So I have to erase the mark and write on my own. So to the very far right, I wrote negative 10, and then I find my negative 18. Anything less than negative 18, we do not see the equal sign. So it's going to represent any number less than to the left-hand side of negative 18. Letter B, 3 times x plus 1 less than 9. So I would like to divide by the 3 first. That reduced down to x plus 1 less than 3. Subtract 1 to both sides. We have x less than 2. So again, find your 2 and then anything less than. So that means to the left hand side of 2. Letter C, 2 times x plus 6. So as I distribute the 2 to both x and 6, I have 2x plus 12 on the left hand side. To the right, I have 5x minus. So don't forget, we are subtracting something. So subtract 3x and subtract negative 12. Subtract 3x, subtract negative 12. Both of them got subtracted because it's inside the parentheses. Then we have 2x plus 12 on one side, 2x plus 12 on the other side as well. So basically, they are the exact same thing. So all your solutions should be real numbers, meaning that the whole number line should be the solutions. The whole number line can be your solutions. No matter what you plug it in for the x, the statement is going to be true. Left-hand side is going to equal to right-hand side, no matter what x value, as long as it is a real number. Letter D, 3 times x plus 4. So distribute the 3. We have 3x plus 12 minus 10 equals 23. 12 minus 10, that's 2. Then I subtract 2 to both sides. We have 3x equals 21. Divide both sides by 3. We have x equals 7. So on this part, we only have one particular x values. So I'll simply mark x equals 7, just one dot. Letter E, the absolute value functions. When there are 2 bars across the variables, those are the absolute value functions. So by first subtracting 2 to both sides, I want to get down to the absolute value function first. Subtract 2, we have the absolute value of x minus 3 less or equal than 4. Here we have to consider 2 cases when it comes to absolute value functions. So one case is x minus 3 less or equal than 4. The other case is x minus 3 greater or equal than negative 4. From here, we solve our linear equations. I think when we do our lessons, we make it into equation number 1, equation number 2. You can name x minus 3 less or equal than 4 as your equation number 1. X minus 3 greater or equal than negative 4 as equation number 2. So we have x less than 7 or x greater or equal than negative 1. To remember, when you have absolute value functions less than a number, your answer is going to be a conjunction, meaning that they are going to be one whole piece. Your solution is one whole piece together, connected. The solution is connected. So I'm going to emphasize it's going to be between 7 and negative 1. Because of the equal sign, we have to make sure including the endpoint. So your endpoint should be filled circle, shaded, darkened. Letter F, the absolute value of 2x minus 3 equals 17. So this time, again, think about whenever it comes to absolute value functions, 2 bars across the variable x. You have to think about positive x, negative, positive value, and negative values. So we would have 2x minus 3 equals 17, 2x minus 3 equals negative 17. Solving for the x, so we have x equals to 10 and x equals to negative 7. So 2 solutions, then mark 2 points on your graphing paper. Letter G, 2 times the absolute value of x plus 9 greater than 12. So again, think about positive and negative. Writing equation 1, x plus 9 greater than 6. So my x is going to be greater than negative 3 as I subtract 9 to both sides. Second equation, x plus 9 less than negative 6. As I subtract 9 to both sides, I have x less than negative 15. So this time, again, I have to erase my mark to accommodate the values. So for negative 3, I wrote it to the furthest right. And then for the negative 15, find out values as I count the tick marks. So greater than negative 3, number marked down on negative 3 and then to the right hand side. Less than negative 15, mark down on the endpoint, keep it as an open circle. Do not shade it. We do not see the equal sign. So anything less than negative 15 would be to the left hand side of negative 15. And I also included the information for interval notations. To remind you, there are different representations to answer your questions. So for the interval notations, the smaller number is always the first number. So since for the left end, we are starting from the negative infinity. So starting from negative infinity up to negative 15. So put it as a curved parenthesis, not the squared one. The other one, negative 3 and on to positive infinity. Letter H, the absolute value of negative 2x plus 4 less than 10. So think about 2 equation again. Negative 2x plus 4 less than 10. Or negative 2x plus 4 greater than negative 10. As you solve the problems, you'll see we will have negative 2x less than 6. Divide both sides by negative 2. Then don't forget to flip the sign. I mark it in red to remind you, as you divide by a negative number, make sure you flip the sign. So my answer is going to be x greater than negative 3 for equation number 1. Equation number 2, divide both sides by negative again, so flip the sign. My x is going to be less than 7. So this is going to be a case of conjunctions. Marking down the endpoint 7 and negative 3 in solid circle, shaded circle. Your answer is going to be a conjunction. How do I write the interval notations? The interval notations is another representation, and because both of them are included, so we will start from negative 3 up to positive 7 in the bracket representations. Number 2, graph each linear functions. So I use different color to represent it. Take a look at the answers. I rewrite the equations into slope-intercept form for letter B as I subtract 2x to both sides, then divide by 5. So I started the questions with marking down my y-intercept point, then use the slope information. Rise over run. Rise is the information for your y, run is the information for your x. Rise over run to mark down the equations. So take a look and check your answers. These are the linear equations, and we mentioned the horizontal line, vertical line. So your letter D and E, y equals a number is going to represent a horizontal line. X equals a number, it's going to represent a vertical line. Question number 3. Write the equation for each. Letter A, the line passing through negative 8, 2 with slope of 1/2. So we are given a point. I'm going to mark the first number as x, the second number as y. So using the point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Plugging in information that I'm given. The points are -8 and 2. So the first number is always your x value. The second number is always your y value with the slope of 1/2. So I have the equation y minus 2 equals 1/2 of x minus -8. Organize your equations. We have y minus 2 equals 1/2 of x plus 8. Distribute the 1/2 to both x and 8. We have y minus 2 equals 1/2 of x plus 4. Add 2 to both sides. Our final answer in the slope-intercept form is going to be y equals 1/2 of x plus 6. Letter B. The line perpendicular to y equals 3x plus 3. So first thing we need to find the slope for the new line. As we know, it's perpendicular to the given line. So the slope would be negative reciprocals. Negative reciprocals. So I simply take the 3, put it to the denominator, put it to the bottom, and then add a negative sign. Negative reciprocals. So my slope to the new line would be -1/3. Using the same concept before, the first number given is always x, the second number is always your y. So the points we are given is 9, -2. Plug into point slope form. We have y minus -2 equals -1/3 times x minus 9. Rewrite into slope-intercept form. We have y equals -1/3 plus 1. Letter C. The line parallel to y equals 3x plus 3. So parallel, parallel, parallel means that we have the same exact slope. So m equals 3. Again, we have the slope and point. Plug it into point slope form. Y minus -2 equals 3 times x minus 9. So the final answer should be in slope-intercept form as y equals 3x minus 29. Letter D. The line through -2, 7, and 1, 3. We're given 2 points. How do I find the slope? So the slope definition, again, is the difference in your y over the difference in your x. So take the second number from each pair, subtract, then divide the number from the first of each pair. 3 minus 7 over 1 minus -2. So the slope is going to be -4 over 3. Then you can pick any point you want. You can either take the first point or the second point. But make sure if you choose one point, your x1 and y1 will come from that order pair. So I'm choosing the second one because both of them are positive numbers. I like to work with positive numbers. So I have y minus 3 equals -4/3 times x minus 1. Our final answer for this one is going to be y equals -4/3 of x plus 13 over 3. -4/3 of x plus 13/3. Question number 4. Show how to find the x and y intercept of -2x plus 4y equals 16. So I've been reminding you several times about the x-intercept, y-intercept. Please don't overthink too much. X-intercept meaning that the y equals value of the function is going to be 0. So we simply plug it in 0 for the y. -2x plus 4 times 0 equals 16. -2x equals 16, so x equals -8. X-intercept is going to be -8, 0. X-intercept is a point, so keep your answer as a point. Y-intercept is by plugging in x equals 0. -2 times 0 plus 4y equals 16. 4y equals 16. Y equals 4. Y-intercept again is a point, so you should write the solution as 0, 4 inside the parentheses. Number 5. The word problem applications for inequalities. Ads in the newspaper cost $200 per day. and radio ads cost $500 a day. Sheena's long hair has an advertising budget of $10,000. Write, graph, and shade an inequality for the advertising that Sheena can afford. Let X be the number of newspaper ads and Y be the number of radio ads. So again, I'm emphasizing when you are trying to write inequality, make sure you name your variables correctly, accurately, to represent the information you are looking for. So X is going to represent the newspaper ads she's running for. Equation number 6. Graph the following inequalities. Letter A, y less than -2 plus 4. So I would like to graph my borderline. For this one, make sure you put your answer as in shape, dotted lines to represent that the line is not including the borderline. Y less than -2 plus 4. Borderline should be dotted line, not including the line itself. And how do I check for the regions? So again, I plug it in 0. 0 is less than 0 plus 4. So the statement is true. So I'm going to shade in the region that has the 0, 0 in it, which is below the line. Letter B, 2x minus 3y less or equal than 12. So as I try to graph the line, I use the x-intercept, y-intercept point. 2x minus 3y equals 12. So my x-intercept is going to be 6, 0. My y-intercept point is going to be -4, 0, -4, 0, -4. In which region do I shade? So I plug it in 0. 0 less than 12 is always true. So I shade it in a region that has the 0, 0 in it. So I shade in the region that contains the 0, 0 testing points in it. Number 7. For the line graph below, state at least 4 things that you know about the line and or its equations. So first thing I know, the y-intercept point is 0, -4. It has a positive slope. The slope is rise over run. So you have to go across 1 unit, you have to go up 3 units. So rise is 3 units, over run is 1 unit. 3 over 1. Slope is 3. And we know it goes through 2, 2. Of course, you can pick out their points. 3, 5 if you want to. And then the last one, the equation itself is going to be y equals 3x minus 4. So here I listed more than 4 points. If you give me at least 4, then that will satisfy the equations. Question number 8. Graph each of the following and describe the transformation. So first, letter A, we have y equals the absolute value of x minus 5. It's basically x minus h. 5 is the h parameters we discussed before. H means moving left or right horizontally. So 5 is a positive number, so moving everything right 5 units. Letter B, y equals negative the absolute value of x plus 1 plus 4. So plus 1 is inside the absolute value functions. You have to make that into x minus -1. So that means left 1 unit. Plus 4 is outside the absolute value functions. So it's going to move the whole function up by 4. And then the -1 is multiplying to the absolute value functions. So that's reflected across the x-axis. Left 1, up 4, reflect across the x. That wraps up our Chapter 2 reviews. Please go over this information if you have to make sure that you get all the questions. The chapter test itself is going to be very similar to the review paper you see here. Ask questions you may have the next school day.